welcome to the Fit and Healthy Today show. And our topic matter today is youthful aging, testosterone in men, part 2. And last time we talked about the causes of testosterone issues, problems, and what happens when testosterone levels fall below normal or low. Today we're going to talk about the ways that we can increase testosterone. Now, I want to state first that you should have always those tests that we talked about in part 1 completed by your doctor before doing a whole lot of additional amounts of herbal support for testosterone. But there's a lot of things that we can do that can support free testosterone and the metabolism of the current testosterone that you're producing. When we talk about testosterone in men, it is very important that a man be physically active. And I'm not just talking about the good old walking the dog around the neighborhood. I'm talking about good exercise 3 to 5 times per week. And I should say vigorous exercise, such as interval sprint training, weightlifting with minimal amounts of rest between sets, jumping rope, box jumping, kettlebells, anything that involves more intense of a workout. Like I said before, walking does not stimulate testosterone. It's a great cardiovascular workout, and I support it 150%. But if you want to increase testosterone, you've got to do some source of resistance or interval types of training. It is very, very important that you get at least 8 hours sleep a night. And, you know, so for some men it can be 7.5 or 7. But your body makes testosterone when it's asleep. And so if you don't get adequate amounts of testosterone or adequate amounts of sleep, you won't have adequate amounts of testosterone. So very important that you're getting good rest and good sleep. Now, when we're talking about the supplements that support testosterone, on the very first page here are the most important supplements I would put in the order, in the category that I have them in. And the other page we'll talk about some of the herbal supports, but these ones right here are the ones minimal that I think that all men should consider when they're age 40 or 45 and above. Number 1 always is a good multiple vitamin that has at least a B50 in it with at least 15 to 30 milligrams of zinc. I'd like it to have some vitamin A in there, not just beta-carotene, but 10,000 IUs of actual vitamin A, because without vitamin A, you can't make testosterone. And I know the doctors are all panicky that it stores around the liver, but 10,000 IUs is not going to be a problem for a man. Zinc, making sure you get adequate amounts of zinc in the vitamin. Zinc is necessary, you know, in the reproductive stages for, you know, your sperm and sperm counts, but it's also important for testosterone production. When we look at the actual supplements that we'd like to add in, we look in terms of what's happened in our environment. DIM, which is a product that we know basically raises the free testosterone and aids the assistance of getting rid of the unmetabolized estrogens, is probably one of the most effective and very researched products for freeing up more free testosterone. Now, the free testosterone, as we discussed before, is your biologically available testosterone. That's the key element that makes you be able to be vital and virile as a man, to be able to put on muscle, to have endurance and energy. Very important. And I would say at least 250 to 300 milligrams, if not more, of DIM per day. Now, once again, as we mentioned in the prior show, eat organic. The estrogens that are found in pesticides can be up to 6 million times stronger in their stimulating abilities as the estrogens that are produced by the body. So very, very important to go organic. And then we add the DIM in there, along with maybe a little bit of apple pectin fiber, and that will metabolize and remove those excessive estrogens out of the body. 100% mixed tocopherols, I think with a little bit of tocotrienols and a vitamin E, 400 to 800 IUs, depending on how thin your blood is. If you're on aspirin therapy, you have to be careful with this. However, this actually naturally thins the blood, so it's a good replacement for thinning of the blood instead of aspirin therapy, and there's some clinical data on that lessening the chances of heart attacks and stroke. You've got to have adequate amounts of vitamin E in order to stabilize your hormone production and to produce testosterone. Vitamin D. Now, I think the government estimates over 90% of Americans are vitamin D deficient. And our estimation was way, way low for a long period of time of how much vitamin D we need. So once again, you want to get tested by your doc to find out what your vitamin D levels are. But as a general, between 2,000 and 4,000 IUs seem to be necessary, supplemented, to raise the levels up to that 50 out of 100 score on vitamin D. Essential fatty acids, the omega-3, 6, 9s. Omega-3s and 6s particularly, like flax oil, borage oil, evening primrose oil. Now you can get some of this in good old nuts, avocados, but once again you need to eat organic forms. If you're sitting there eating your local warehouse nut that's heavily sprayed with estrogens, then you're defeating the purpose of trying to raise your testosterone and taking omegas. Organic, organic, organic. I can't overstress that. U.S. studies on ZMA, zinc, magnesium, aspartate. What happens is this increases testosterone, and most of the studies were done on exercise and strength training for increase regarding those. And so using the ZMA before bed actually raised testosterone levels and aided and assisted muscle building, endurance, and recovery as well. Priority, anytime you think of supplements regarding testosterone. Now I have a lot of men come in and ask me, what can I do for my testosterone? And the first things that I mentioned are the most important, and then eating an organic diet, exercising vigorously. But there are some supplements that have a lot of studies in other countries primarily for aiding and assisting testosterone production. Ginseng, it stimulates the hypothalamus to produce more testosterone and helps stabilize adrenal stress hormones. There's a lot of Chinese studies on this, and ginsengs are used a lot in Chinese medicine. It's only been around for a couple thousand years regarding men's virility, so I think it's what we call time-tested, but there are clinical studies that support that. Hot red panax ginseng can raise blood pressure, so thinking in terms of doing something called Siberian ginseng, a lot of people don't consider that ginseng, but can also help as well with endurance and a slight increase in testosterone. Tribulus increases luteinizing hormones, which encourage testosterone production. So there's some mixed reviews regarding Tribulus, but I've seen some good results among my customers at the store utilizing Tribulus, and I take it to help with menopausal symptoms for luteinizing hormones or stabilization for my hormones as well as a menopausal woman. Tonkat Alley, there are British studies on this one, medical journal studies, that show that it increases testosterone and also helps aid and assist the building of muscle mass. Also helps with impotence and male ability to perform sexually. Maca. Now, maca is from South America, and it is what I call a tonic. And it can help balance the production of all hormones. But it also is very anti-aging by nourishing the glands. So when you nourish your glands in your body, that aids and assists the body's ability when the need arises to produce testosterone. Cordyceps. This was kind of a surprise to me. Most of these other things I knew about, but a surprise to me. Definitely helped increase testosterone, endurance, and we think it may be part of its ability for the cells to transfer, or increasing the cell's ability to transfer and exchange oxygen. So cordyceps is a mushroom that, bottom line, I know I take to help open my lungs up for asthma, but it has an ability to seem to increase testosterone as well. Damiana, there is U.S. Department of Agriculture studies showing that it raises testosterone at about 500 milligrams twice a day. And I know we usually tend to think of Damiana as a female herb, but the Department of Agriculture studies say otherwise to help stimulate testosterone production. Mirapuama, UCLA studies found that it increases the production of testosterone. I tend to lean more towards trusting most of the university studies if they're double-blind placebo studies, and that one was. Faux tea, only once again been around for over 1,000 years, and it increases testosterone and longevity, and I know a lot of my male customers buy it because it keeps their hair from graying. So it's kind of a what I call a tonic, and it aids and abets the body's ability to recover and stay vital. Horny goat week. Chinese studies once again. Now the Chinese have a lot of herbs that they've used throughout the centuries to help stimulate male testosterone, and there's a lot of empirical data that supports it. But increasing testosterone, and it also seems to help with impotence issues in that it increases circulation to the male members as well too. DHEA. Now there's some mixed reviews on this one. I have customers that are taking some good dosages. It ranges between 5 milligrams and 100 milligrams once or twice a day. And it can stimulate testosterone production provided the DHEA levels are low. So when we have that testosterone, free testosterone, DHEA, estrogen, cortisol, and vitamin D checks by the doctor, if the DHEA levels are low, that can affect testosterone. So once again, it's great to get those diagnostics before we start any of DHEA supplementation. Sarsaparilla contains a substance that we know can aid and abet the production of testosterone and progesterone. Now, I don't have that here, but progesterone cream, I know we use it a lot in women's menopausal symptoms, but progesterone can also be helpful in aiding and abetting testosterone production because it can clear out the receptor sites that the environmental estrogens, the pesticides may have filled, and it can help clear them out, lending itself to increased testosterone or free testosterone free-up. Growth hormone supplementation. Now, we're going to discuss this at a later date, but like everything in our bodies, everything all works together. And so when we have adequate amounts of growth hormone in the body, that is kind of like a precursor to everything turning on. So there's homeopathic sprays that are used for growth hormone. There's amino acids, arginine, citrulline, that can help stimulate growth hormone. A supplement, there's L-glutamine. So that plays a part in all of this as well. Now keep in mind, all the endocrine system works together. Your thyroid, you know, everything works together. So if you've got any of your hormones out of balance, it can affect testosterone. As we noted before, stress. So keeping the B vitamins real high, keeping the diet good, exercising can support healthy testosterone levels because the bottom line is, and I think doctors need to start looking at this for men a little bit more in depth. The studies support that men with low testosterone are 2.5 times, and that's 250% more likely to die within 10 years than men with healthy, normal testosterone levels. Now, when you're examining your testosterone and free testosterone, if it's on the low end of normal, that's not normal. You want to, I've seen these, you know, someone come out at 210, which is on the low end of normal for testosterone, and that's not going to make somebody virile and happy. We need testosterones at least right at, and we talked about this in the prior show, at the 500 level. So that's something to consider, and then looking at the free testosterone and comparing, maybe we're not the estradiol, the estrogens might be blocking the testosterone. When you look at your testosterone and discuss this with your doctor, remember, as I mentioned before, it affects your bones, your virility, everything about that makes a man a man. So, get the testing, review the supplements with somebody that has good working knowledge, and go for it. There's no reason why you shouldn't be feeling the best all of your life, just not in the earlier years of your life. Next, we're going to be moving on to the fitness portion of our show. Thank you. I think I've got a lot of time.
It seemed kind of fast.
Fitness portion of the show, and I wanted to show a couple of exercises that could help stimulate testosterone production. I'm a yoga instructor at Synergy Studios, and I own the studio, and these are a couple of positions that work with first and second chakra, which is the lower extremity in this area, and the energy that's produced from that. And they're really simple exercises that can be performed, and they're actually really good stretching exercises as well. The first one is called butterfly. And what you're doing in the butterfly position, obviously you have wings spread. You sit up as straight as you possibly can, and you compress your legs outward. And after the compression, then you do your wings sort of like a butterfly. That stimulates the ovaries, testes in this particular area, the hormonal support, and also can help with digestion as well too. The next position I'd like to show you is called Cobra. Now, Cobra is also for second, third, fourth chakra, but what it is you're down on your knees, and that's how you can get down, and you come up and arch your back and lift your chin slightly up. And that's called Cobra. And make sure you're keeping your hands directly under your shoulders. And Cobra pulls all of these muscles, pulls all of this together, and kind of pushes it and stimulates for second, third, and fourth chakra. Anyway, I hope those exercises are helpful. If you'd like to know more about yoga, you can check with me at the vitamin and herb stores, and we'll help you with some classes. Next, we're going to be moving on to the research portion of our show. Thank you. Portion of our show, and with us today is Ralph Turchiano.
And thank you for that intro. Well, first we start off with vitamin D. Now, a lot of questions in regards to vitamin D normally is how much is enough or how much should I take? Well, an article just published in New England Journal of Medicine came out with that exact amount. They found out where people were taking what I call from 0 IUs, get it from their diet, which is about 150 IUs on average, to 2,000 IUs, the people in the upper quarter reduced their chance of hip fracture down by 30% and other fractures total down by 14%. Now, so basically what they're recommending is you get close to about 2,000 IUs. The International Office of Medicine, even though they say vitamin D toxicity is very rare, and that's their quote, says they would like to see people cap it up at about 4,000 IUs. Now, here's the kicker. The daily recommended allowance or daily recommended intake of vitamin D in the United States is 600 IUs if you're below 70 and 800 IUs if you're below the age of 70. Now the problem, if you took 800 IUs or less, you received 0 benefit from fracture risk reduction. So you didn't get any reduction. So just nice to know that the United States official agencies are recommending just enough vitamin D to do you absolutely no good whatsoever. But if you do take your health into your own hand and you're proactive, they are recommending at least an average of about 1,500 IUs to 2,000 IUs with a cap of about 4,000 IUs per day. Not bad. All right, now we go to food intake. What we're looking at is fast food. Now this kind of amazed me because of how little it actually took. They went to Singapore and they monitored these people for about 16 years. All right. And the average individual, or I should say, they looked at people that did 2 servings of fast food per week, 3 servings, and 4 servings or more. Well, this is what they discovered. And this was published in, the American Heart Association's online journal. If you had fast food just 2 times per week, you increased your risk to diabetes only 27%. I should say only, that's quite a bit, over 16 years. That's just 2 servings. That's stopping off at a fast food joint at Sunday afternoon, or maybe sometime in the middle of the week on Wednesday evening, just twice. If you did it 3 times, you raised your risk of diabetes after 16 years by 50%. All right? Again, that's stopping maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or a few lunches at work. If you ate fast food 4 times or more per week, your chance of diabetes went to 80%. Now we're talking type 2 diabetes over 16 years. Just 4 servings per week. Now, I hate to say that, that's about the average kid's diet. Weekends, a little dinner here, a little dinner there, and that's about it. You're pretty much almost guaranteeing your chance that you're going to be medically dependent upon a medication the rest of your life just for eating fast food a few times a week, let's say between the ages of 4 and 20. Something to think about. And here's the counterintuitive part, which blew me away, which I didn't expect, but this is what research is about, not by finding out what we think is going to happen, what actually is happening. What was interesting in his words, and this is their quote, what's interesting about the results is the study participants who reported eating fast food most were frequently younger, better educated, smoked less, and were more likely to be physically active. That's bizarre, and it's counterintuitive. So a lot of people are doing the right health decisions, they're just abusing themselves another way. Something to think about. All right, now to one of my favorite drug companies, Roche Pharmaceuticals. It's one of my favorite because they failed to release any testing results on Tamiflu now for the longest period of time. But they got busted for something else. I guess when you call in a side effect to a medication, you actually call it in to the call center, which is owned by the drug company itself. And then the drug company is supposed to report these findings after 15 days to basically an adverse reaction reporting thing. Unless, obviously, you're Roche, which wasn't doing it prior for the past 15 years. So, in a headline going, drug giant probed for not disclosing 15,000 patient death reports and 80,000 adverse reactions. They found that the Swiss pharmaceutical Roche failed to pass on another further 65,000 reports of suspected side effects that were recorded by patients. All of these reactions, amazingly, this article came out in Europe and not the United States. Yet, all these reactions happened in the United States. They looked at the drugs Hirpestin, which obviously is a blood thinner, and Lucentis, which is obviously used for age-related vision. Roche wasn't reporting any of the side effects whatsoever. Made their drugs look pretty good. They also said total that basically each of the total 80,000 deaths and side effects reported were supposed to be investigated immediately. Well, I guess 15 years is a little late because most of the patients are probably not existing anymore. They also said that basically that Roche, U.S. subsidiary Genentech, was the one where the staff there failed to pass on reports to the Roche's drug safety team, but it is not known why. Well, how does Roche keep track of drug side effects? Well, according to them, they are in call center records. What is a call center record? Well, the call center record to Roche is a piece of paper hidden in a box. So no computerized monitoring, just a bunch of notes put in a box, then shoved away. And now they're looking at Avastin for bowel and breast cancer, lung cancer, Tarceva, Rituxan, which treats non-Hodgkin lymphoma, the stroke drug Alteplase, Acertumra for rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm saying these really fast, and Pegasus for hepatitis B, and Raptiva for the skin condition psoriasis. See, that's the problem. And then what do they have the gall to say? They say basically that it was non-intentional. So you're keeping records 15 years in a box in a closet, and you know this is going on for basically this long, and it's not intentional, maybe a day or two, but not a decade and a half. And that's one thing basically that should be taken care of. All right. So then we go to Merck Pharmaceuticals. All right. This came out in the Courthouse News. When I saw it, I had to validate it because I didn't quite believe it. What it is this. Merck has known for over a decade that its mumps vaccine, quote, is far less effective than it tells the government. And it falsified test results and sold millions of doses of questionable efficacy, flooding and monopolizing the market. In an antitrust suit, they just unsealed the documents. What occurred is the virus researchers used whistleblower protection laws and came out against Merck. They said Stephen Kraling and Joan Walchowski were Merck virologists who claim in their unsealed complaint that they witnessed firsthand improper testing and falsification in which Merck engaged to artificially inflate the vaccine's efficacy findings. Now here's the key. I'm going to go a little further and it'll all come together. Merck is the only manufacturer licensed to sell a measles and mumps vaccine in the United States. The way they got that monopoly was showing that their mumps and measles vaccine had a 95% efficacy rate. It didn't. What they did also, and they claim, that's why Merck went to great lengths manipulating its test procedures and falsifying the test results to prop up the bogus figure. They knew that the attenuated virus from which it created the vaccine had been altered over the years. During the manufacturing process, the quality of the vaccine had degraded as a result. I'm reading, quote, starting in the late 1990s, Merck set out on its sham testing program with the objective of reporting efficacy of 95% or higher regardless of the vaccine's true efficacy, the complaint states. Chapman says Merck initially called its testing program Protocol 007. This is actually from Merck's files. Under Protocol 007, instituted by Merck, Merck did not test the vaccine's ability to protect children against the wild-type mumps virus, which is the type of realized virus against which vaccines are generally tested, the complaint states. Instead, Merck tested children using its own attenuated strain of the virus. This was the same mumps strain in which the children were vaccinated. Back up and think about this. What happened is Merck Pharmaceutical created its own version of the mumps and measles virus, injected children with the vaccine for the mumps and measles virus, making these children carriers of a mumps and measles virus that did not exist naturally in the wild, at the same time leaving the children prone to the wild type of mumps and measles virus. If you look at the way I look at it, it's almost like it's a form of bioterrorism. Instead of what they're using political aims, they're using economic aims. Two things. One is they believe they allowed the mumps and measles virus to propagate, not be wiped out, in order to keep on selling an ineffective vaccine. Second, they created a different strain of vaccine that was not in the wild, in which the vaccinated children would spread the disease to the unvaccinated children. Something to really think about overall. They basically, how they pull this off? They mixed animal blood in with the children's blood samples in order to give a higher antibody result to make it look like the vaccine actually worked, in which it did not. Something to think about the next time you have to mandatorily take a vaccine or have your child vaccinated against a vaccine that does not work and may be harmful. Thank you. That's my time.
Wow. Thank you very much, Ralph. Do your research. Thank you again for joining our show. Have a good night.